everyone, it's Laura from Laura's Handcrafted Treats and Treasures. Welcome to or back to my channel. Alright, I had posted on my Facebook page and another site, Carolyn's Musings, of these cards that I had made. I actually went through all the original cards I made, and there's a couple more I needed, so I thought, well, let's just make a few and I'll have them at the ready. This is a ATC in her Ko-fi shop that she gave us, and gave us several different ones, and I thought these were perfect to make cards. So when I posted just the picture on Carolyn's Facebook page, which is One Way Journals, I had a gal who asked if I could or asked me some questions about the embossing and wanted a little bit of the process. Her name is Carla. So Carla, this is for you. Thanks for asking. So I know a lot of people know how to do cards, but some people don't know how to do cards. When I first started, I was like, I'm not a card maker. I'm not a card maker. I just couldn't grasp it, but it's so easy, I realized, and now I make beautiful cards. So going forward, I made some that are side. Now these are off of my computer. So this is something I do in my publisher, and I just print 4 to a page and then have them at the ready as well. And then, so I did 2 on the side, and then 2 that flip up this way so they stand. So I'm going to show you both ways of how you're going to cut this. Your first 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper will make 2 cards, and this is Stampin' Up. Use a good base. I think this is called crumb cake. I could be wrong, but I think it's crumb cake. Use a good base for your cards, because if you use the thinner, lighter weight paper, it just doesn't give much stability to your cards. So your first cut to get this way, you're gonna cut your 11-inch side at 5.5, and then you leave your 8.5. That way you're going to score at your 8.5 side. You're going to score at 4.25. So you get 2 cards out of 1 sheet of paper. Either way you do this, you get 2 cards. Okay, so you get those scored. Then for the tall one, the one that flips up, see if I can find it. The one that flips this way so that you can stand it. This is going to be cut on the 8.5 side. You're gonna cut at 4.25. So you're just gonna do half that paper, and then at the 11-inch, you're gonna score at 5.5. So you're just sort of reversing the process to the first one. Okay, so get those scored up. I'll get them folded and burnished, but for right now, I'm going to move on. Now, I went and took some cream colored paper, and this is not from Stampin' Up. It's just from, I get this at Michael's. Yes, Michael's. And it's a thinner piece of paper, but for me, that's okay for layering. That doesn't bother me. And you're going to want to cut, you can get 4 out of 1 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And then you're going to want to cut them to 5.25 by 4. So 5.25 by 4, because you're going to end up with a 5.5 by 4.25. So that's what's going to give you the nice little border. I then went ahead and ran these through an embossing. So this is done on the Big Shot. Now, if you don't have an embossing machine, you could always maybe just take the top half and maybe use some stamps. I think you can use these embossing folders and like maybe take a rolling pin and try to get the impression in there. But I have a big shot, so I will run them through. And these were the two that I had that I don't have a whole lot in embossing folders, but this one had some snowflakes, and then this one just had a nice little design. The snowflake one, when I ran it through, I'm going to try to run it through a little bit better because my impression, it was good, but it wasn't as good as this one. All right, so go ahead and run those through your embossing machine. Now, for the papers that I used for the bottom, this came from the garden. Where did I do with my note? Here it is. Christmas Garden. And this was the one I just did a journal out of for the collaboration. So I went back into the paper and I did a couple of different ones. These were the first two I used. And then I thought, well, let's do a couple different ones since I'm going to be demonstrating. Now, I did these 2 to a page. So when I did it, I picked that I wanted them to be 5 by 7s because that way I can actually get 4 out of each one, or 2 out of each one of these. And it shrinks your graphic down a little bit. So anyway, I didn't need a whole sheet for a couple cards, and it gives you the option to do a couple of something different. They don't all have to look the same. And I cut these down to, I left this at 4 because I'm going to want that to match up the edges with my cream colored paper. And then I just went halfway. So this is my cream colored paper is 5.5. So I did 2 5/8. 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, which gave me the halfway mark. Now you can make it a little shorter, a little longer. It doesn't matter. So basically I just trimmed off my edges. Kind of got that process started first, which I'm a little wonky here. And then I did my 4. So I'm going to do 4 this way. Then I'm going to take this and do 2 1/8, 3/8, 5/8. And then I'm going to get 2 of them. 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, which is that bigger mark right after the half. Now save these pieces because you could always use these to do something else with the card. You could use this for a band in the middle of it. You can use this part for maybe a topper, and then, I mean, there's sky's the limit, but let's just work on this one for now. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my pieces cut. I'm going to get this embossed, and then I will assemble it. Now, this is what comes out of my computer that I just am able, I have it sized exactly to where I want it, and then centered my sentiment, and then I cut on the inside of those lines so I don't have those lines. And a lot of times I ink up the inside of my cards too, depending on what card I'm doing. So let me go get that done and I'll be back. Okay, so I have finished the prep work, and have everything laid out. So this process goes very quickly when you do all your pieces and parts and get them all laid out and ready to go. So what I have used for the lace or the ribbon is score tape. Now, I don't suggest using the cheap stuff. I have used it before. It comes up. It does not stick. And also, if you use glue, you could use glue in the middle where you're going to hide it and on the back side when we get to that part, but it will seep through and you will see it on many, many ribbons. So for me, the score tape is best. And then I just lay that down. And try to not get it over on the other side. Try to get it straight. Or at least so it's not hanging over the edge. And then I have them all ready to go. Okay. And I've just kind of laid them out to where I want them. So now we're going to go ahead and glue on all of the bottoms to the bottoms. We want them all down here. Now you could cut this piece if you want to save a little bit on your paper, and then put one piece up here. But you know what? It's just, don't make it difficult. Just use that piece and do the whole thing. So we're going to get that glued down. And I use art glitter glue, which sticks very, very, very quickly. So what I try to do is sort of just stand this up before I press, sort of get it into place, and then press. And I went ahead and did all the inking as well. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my ribbon. I'm just going to burnish that down a little bit. And lay my ribbon right on that seam. Trying to get it as straight as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect. The card's going to be beautiful. I used silver on one of the last ones, but I was running out and it was sort of twisted when I got to the end. And you can see I'm a little bit wonky here. Don't know if I'll be able to pull it back up. No, so I'm not even going to try. That score tape will really stick. So, all right, because the angle I'm looking at it is, I don't want to put my head in the camera, so it's a little bit wonky. Then you're going to go ahead and glue this onto your cover. And then I just put a little bit extra glue on the ribbon parts, and I try to put extra glue in the corners and along the edges because of the embossing. You know, it just has all these little embossed parts, and you just kind of get the tops of them. But I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm just going to sort of lay it here. Let's see if I got it where I want it. That looks pretty good. All right, go ahead and get that put down. Gotta get my pin in my glue, because that glue likes to dry up super quick. And then I just go ahead and take my foam strips here, and I get these from the Dollar Tree in the automotive section. Now these work just fine for this type of a thing. They work just perfect. And I put 6 of them on here just because the card's a little bigger. I might go overboard, but that's okay. They're pretty cheap, $1.25 for that big roll, and I just keep stocked up on them. And then go ahead and lay this in the center as best as you can. And there you go. All right. So that kind of gives you an idea. I'm going to go ahead and finish my other cards. One other thing I wanted to mention, was when I was embossing, I had said this folder here, I might need to put a little something extra underneath of it. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but this one did come out with more definition. And literally, I just put a piece of cardstock folded in half underneath, you know, in my sandwich. And it just made it a little more bold. You can also take your anchor and you can go over top of those raised parts to give it a little bit more definition as well. But anyway, Carla, I hope that helped and you go make some cards. So I hope everybody else found this inspirational and you go ahead and make some cards and we'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.